Thank the Minister for that explanation. But it is an explanation.
Senator Bragg, could you just move to take note, please?
I move to take note of the Minister's explanation.
Go ahead, Senator Bragg.
Thank you very much. In taking note of this explanation, I make the point that the Senate ordered these documents back in July, and the order was quite clear that the Senate was seeking advice provided by the Treasury to the Treasurer and the Minister for Housing in relation to the government's expansion of the 5% deposit scheme. Now, subsequent to that, we've seen the Prime Minister canvass publicly the fact that there is Treasury advice, which did anticipate that there would be an increase in house prices as a result of the government's 5% deposit scheme expansion. The Senate ordered the production of these documents in July. Here we are now on Melbourne Cup Day in November, and we do not have those documents. So when the government cries a river about the Senate seeking access to documents properly ordered by this chamber on behalf of the Australian people, this is yet another example of the government refusing to apply the normal norms or the normal applications that we would expect that they would comply with. Now, the point I make here is that the 5% deposit scheme, which has been deployed into a supply-constrained market without any income test, no means testing, without any place caps, has shot prices up. Now, the independent economist, Nick Gruen of Lateral Economics, predicted a 10% increase in house prices as a result of this change. That was his prediction, 10% increase. And so we now have the first month of data from 1 October through 1 November, and that bears true. Nick Gruen's prediction is coming to life because we've seen 1.2% increase in October, the biggest increase in years for entry-level first homes. Now, when you look at the complete set of data, what you see is no change to the houses of the wealthiest Australians, no change. But what you see is a big surge in prices for entry-level housing. So the policy that was apparently designed to make it easier for first home owners or prospective owners is making it harder. The prices are shooting up. I make the point that house prices are too high at the entry-level point. They're too high, they need to come down because this government has deliberately or recklessly increased the prices in that range when they knew that they had failed on supply. They knew that they inherited a housing system which was giving the country 200,000 houses a year on average, and they've crashed that down to 170,000 houses a year on average. They have crashed the supply side of the market. We have the biggest population we've ever had, and here they come along with this demand-side gimmick, which shoots up house prices. And so that's why we sought this document. We sought this document because we know the briefings and modelling was done by the Treasury. The Prime Minister's confirmed it. But apparently we're not allowed to have it. The Senate's not allowed to have the documents it asked for. You have to wonder what sort of country we're living in. All we want to see is the modelling and the briefing done. I am sure the Treasury would have flagged the huge risks that the Australian people would have to bear if the government was going to uncap and open this scheme up to the children of billionaires. I am sure. Anyway, we'll play this game a bit longer. The government can keep on going, covering up and obfuscating and not giving us the documents which have been legally ordered by this chamber, but in the end we'll get the documents, because in the end the government will have enough of extended question times and they'll have enough of the other things that we'll do with the crossbench to ensure that we get transparency. And the government can threaten to cut the paying conditions like a union bully would of the people in the House of Reps, and I don't think anyone gives a rat's ass, frankly.
Senator Bragg, that language is unparliamentary. I'd ask you to withdraw.
Well, I withdraw, of course. But I don't think anyone gives a rat's, frankly, that the government is threatening members of the House because we're trying to get documents which belong to the Australian people.